Ahmed Rufai Isah. Thanks for joining me on Youth Without Borders. Education in the North has taken a backseat for a long time. According to UNESCO, 30 million children are out of school in Nigeria. About 70% of that figure are in the North. And a lot of government people are doing things to change this. Individuals too have not left it alone for the government. Today, to find answers to some of these issues and many more, I'll be talking to Engineer Jibril Shehu, who was the brain behind Transform Arewa workshop in Sokoto recently. Join me. Welcome, Engineer Jibril Shehu, to Youth Without Borders. Yeah, so I'm going to start by asking you what the motivation behind Transform Arewa workshop is.
Yeah, the motivation behind Transform Arewa workshop was mostly due to the fact that I am from the area, I'm from Sokoto State, the Engineer local government, and due to the fact that I've been away from home for a long time and I've been seeing the developments there, especially in education and empowerment of our youth, I felt the need to come back home and actually give back to the community by helping empowering our youth so that they can be empowered and look, for their own jobs and help their own selves by themselves rather than waiting for, say, the government to hand things to them.
Thank you very much. It's a bit difficult in Nigeria to, start a workshop like that. So I'll have to say thank you very much for that initiative. Do you think that what you have done would bring government together to say, let's support Jibril and then, integrate the initiative so that more students can learn some of the things that you guys talk about at the workshop?
Actually, I'm very glad you asked that question because throughout our engagements, the Sokoto State government has been very supportive, most especially the Ministry of Science and Technology as well as the Ministry of Basic Science and also the Office of the Special Assistant to the Governor. With the Ministry of Science and Technology, we had Honorable Commissioner Nasser Zaroumai. He's been very, very supportive. He linked us up with a lot of his employees to make sure things happen, as well as the Special Advisor, Imam. He was very supportive in the sense that we actually started conversing with him prior to the inauguration of the commissioners. So yeah, I would say they've been very supportive. They in fact supported and financed the workshop. In addition, we're looking to now start having it every year. So we've had conversations with the government, including the state governor, in an effort to see how we can continue this in the future.
So can you explain a bit more the idea behind the hashtag itself on social media, because that was what brought it to plenty young people on social media who are from Sokoto and who are not from Sokoto, to get the idea of what you and the other speakers at the event were talking about, the hashtag itself, Transform Arewa.
Yeah, there were actually a couple of hashtags. The first was Transform Arewa, and specifically because this is in Sokoto, we wanted to transform Sokoto as well. Transform Arewa started, actually I was just sitting down reviewing and thinking about the elections, right? We talked about change in the election. And really, change can be a different word or a synonym to transform, right? So everybody talks about a transformation agenda. And so I was at the time reading a book called The Transformational Leader. So I was trying to think, comparing, northern Nigeria where I'm from and the southern Nigeria, and trying to look at the disparity between education and development, and I started thinking, if we have a new government, how can we go on or piggyback on the change mantra, right? And sort of start not really necessarily a movement per se, but something that can help our community because really we're far behind. So I started thinking about Transform Arewa because Arewa means north and that's the region. And so it's really a transformation in education, infrastructure, youth development, employment, and the health sector. And one of the things that obviously we all want is education is where we really lag behind. So the main reason for that was we started with, or rather, the first thing that we started with was education, because we felt that the handle education is the main foundation that would help lift everything up. So we made that the genesis of the whole movement. Now, with that, we have been having a lot of discussions or tweet chats or tweet meets on Transform Arewa education. We looked at the statistics specifically. Sokoto, unfortunately, at the time that we reviewed the 2014 WIAC results were among the bottom eight states that had below 10% passing rate. And below 10% passing rate meaning only less than 10%. I believe Sokoto was about 7.12%. Less than 10% of the students that took the WIAC exam in 2014 scored not up to 5 credits, including math and English.
Oh,
so
that's bad. I'm going to come back to that question. Did you get the government in Sokoto to commit? Because supporting is different from commitment, to commit to implement some of the things you guys talk about at the workshop.
Right, well, I think the Sokoto, actually, if you look at what the Sokoto state government has done thus far, I think it has shown their concerted effort and their commitment to making changes, right? Their commitment to improving the status of education in Sokoto State. First of all, Sokoto has declared a state of emergency, and I think the state of emergency is really a way that Sokoto State can sort of circumvent some of the government bureaucracies that will impede, some of the changes that they want to do in education. So I think that's a plus for the government. The government, I think, has put in a bunch of policies, a lot of documents that will help improve education. Now, when it comes to our, because I think for us to be able to actually improve the community, everybody has to be a collective effort.
Yeah.
The teachers, the government, the parents, we as user, everybody has to pitch in, right? I think the government right now is doing a great job. We reached out to them and they were very supportive. They never said no. In fact, when I had a meeting with the commissioner of basic education, Dr. Japik Luguri, the next day, actually literally right there and then before my eyes, he made phone calls and he swung into action. And I think that shows how seriously they are. In fact, he attended the event. The event started from 9 to 5 p.m. It's very difficult for anybody to attend an entire event that way. So I think that's commitment. Now we've been engaging the government in implementation, and we're still working on that. And the fact that we're now on the same table talking about it, and talking about they propose that this should be a yearly event. So that also shows their commitment in terms of moving this forward.
Great. One of the questions that came up on social media while the workshop was going on was, would Transform Arewa just be about Sokoto State alone, or are we going to see that idea replicated across the northern states?
Well, I'll ask you this question. What does Arewa mean?
Arewa means the north.
Okay. And is Sokoto part of the north? Is Sokoto the only state in the north?
No.
So that's where it starts from, right? It's a regional thing, right? And we're not trying to seclude ourselves from the south. We just think that there's a huge disparity between where the south is and where the north is. And we think that's where the help is needed, right? We're trying to catch up, our people are far behind, right? So if you're trying to catch up, how do you catch up with somebody that's already ahead of you? You have to move faster, you have to invest faster, you have to invest more resources, financially and human resources. So we have to put more energy and resources towards the north rather than the south. And so to answer your question directly, yes, we're looking at the entire north. In fact, one of our associates has been in contact with the Bauchi State government, and they are hoping that we can replicate such, events in Bauchi State. We're going to obviously try to expand in other areas. It's not just going to be about workshops. It's not just going to be about resumes. There are a whole lot of things that we can discuss and we can do in order to move our region forward.
Great. You talked about Arewa being backward. I've actually taken a look at the statistics, and it's pretty poor. What do you think is responsible for this disparity? I heard a speaker at the event attribute this to the attitude of the political elite in the North. They talked about those people, those class of people, leaving the children of the masses, especially their schools, in poor conditions. I've seen some schools myself. I've been to Kaduna and some other places. I've seen structures, very bad structures. In fact, I've actually interacted with some teachers too, and I think some of them actually need further training. So my question is, what do you think is responsible for this disparity? Looking at the declaration, the UNESCO Declaration of 1948, which stipulates that, that's Article 26, which stipulates that education is actually a fundamental human right, but is being treated as a privilege in Arewa.
Right, absolutely. I mean, the speaker was right? But I think that is just one part of it, right? If you look at, I think, like I said, it has to be a collective effort. Let me give you an example, and I said this during the seminar. My mom, right? My mom, she made sure she gave her all. My dad as well. I said before that people think I was good, I'm decent at math, right? And I would attribute a lot of that to my mom. We walked behind, the backyard and picked counters, division and multiplication table. I cried, she was there, she stayed up late, she made sure I understood it. That is a mother, making a concerted effort to make sure that her child understands what they're doing. We're talking to one of the other speakers, Engineer Nathaniel Wambere. Yeah, he talked about how his dad woke him up one Saturday morning and took out the clock. Son, we're going to learn the clock. And within that one day, he understood how to do time, right? My dad, I was lucky to take the common entrance in primary 5, right? And when I did that, my dad, after every exam, my dad sat me down, we went over the exams every time, all the time, right? I was tired, but he made sure that we went through, and I circled my answers, and he told me which ones I got wrong, why I got them wrong, how I could improve them, right? So I think that is one thing that parents could do. Dr. Shadi Sabe talked about going back to the family style of education. And like he said, not just mother, son, and father sitting down and doing things, but the community on its own, right? When a child goes out and does wrong, somebody corrected it. When a child needed help, somebody helped him out. Things like that. Going back to the government, I think certainly our elites, northern elites, to be specific, have not, adhered to what our forefathers do. The Sardanas, the Tafawa Baleos. This is the vision that they have for the North, and I think there's a lot more we could have done, or our leaders that came before us could have done, to make sure that we sustain that prestigious status that we had on education when Nigeria got our independence, right? So I think they didn't invest well, and they didn't have maybe the plan from the start was great, but somewhere along the line there was a disconnect, and I think we need to reconnect and move forward.
Okay, so this is, if I could picture some of the things you said, you also attributed some of the poor nature of education in the North to the parents, because you talked about your mom and how she pushed you to make sure you went through it. And there are a lot of people in the North actually who, when kids come back from school, they don't take time to check their assignments and all that. And some of those things can be attributed as a triple effect from their parents not going to school. So what do you think can be done to encourage the parent to make sure their kids go to school? the parents, not the kids, the parents, because they play a very vital role in the education of the children.
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, there has to be community awareness, right? We have to be making the parents to be aware of what the opportunities that lie ahead for their kids, right? We have to have a, an all stakeholders kind of meeting, similar to the seminar. We had parents there, we had the media there, we had the government agencies there, we had the students there, we have us that we're trying to bring that seminar together. So having everybody, all stakeholders engaged, let's exchange ideas, let everybody air it out. Everybody wants to speak about how things should be done, or what is wrong, or what is broken in the system, or what changes need to be made. And I think everybody has to be in the same room talking about, what the issues are. Because if you are in Sokoto, for example, talking about it, and I'm in, in Abuja and I'm from Sokoto, I want to make the same change. We're not, in line. We're not streamlining our conversation in terms of helping move this forward. But certainly the parents, whether they're educated or not, have to see that there's a future for their kids, right? Some of them, yeah, they may not be educated, but they know that if they were given the same opportunities with their parents, or rather their kids, to go to school, to help them in terms of, to help them in terms of going to school and making them have better lives than they did. I'm not saying, going to school is going to make you the richest person, but certainly a fail-safe method. Education is something that you would have. It's something, if you have it, nobody can take it away from you, right? And if the parents understand that if their kids actually have that education, things may be taken away from their kids, maybe a position here or there. But the only thing that they cannot take away from them is their education, their knowledge, and their reason to be successful. And that's what makes them, or what will make them powerful. So we need to have this kind of conversation with them, and in order to help them understand and help them encourage their kids.
Great. So community awareness, information sharing, and encouragement by governments are some of the things you have said that could trigger the attitude of the parents into a positive one towards education. I've been speaking to Engineer Shehu Jibril. We've been talking about education in the North, and his workshop, Transform Arewa Initiative. I've been speaking to Engineer Jibril Shehu. He's an engineer, obviously, and he has organized a workshop in Sokoto State to address the issues surrounding education in the North. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you.
So I'm going to ask you what STEM is about, because it was one of the things the speakers, I think Engineer Wambebe talked about STEM. So can you please give us an overview of what STEM is about?
Yeah, STEM is an acronym that represents science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And we feel that the northern Nigeria, again, is lagging behind in terms of STEM. Like it says, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Everything nowadays is technology, be it ICT, computers, anything that requires development in one way or the other has to do with technology or engineering. To go back to the basics, right? As a person, as a human being, you need water to survive, you need a shelter, you need roads, right? And I'm a civil engineer, so with civil structural engineer. So see, civil engineers bring water, right? They build roads and they build houses. So just as one engineer, I am able to bring about those development in my community. I can extend to mechanical engineers, I can extend to electrical engineers, right? I can extend to ICT and other forms of technology, right? So when one looks at it in that form, We can attribute some of our deficiencies in terms of development. We can attribute it to STEM because when you look at a place like Sokoto, for example, you don't see as many firms, technology firms or engineering firms in the states. That's because one of the reasons I feel is because we lack the human capacity to fill those gaps. If I want a company and I want to put it there, I would also like to employ the locals, right? If I'm able to find the human resources, talented human resources, knowledgeable human resources to actually fill the gap, I think that will encourage me to have something there. Well, of course, in addition to the business model I want to actually have there. So we wanted to first, our target audience was JS3 students and SS3 students. With the JSS3 students, they're just about to get into their senior secondary school education, right? And they're about to make a selection between science and arts, right? So we wanted to educate them and let them know that, look, you have opportunities in sciences, you have opportunities in technology. We need physics teachers, chemistry and biology teachers, because we need our kids to be educated, right, in the health sector as well. So if we educate them and let them understand these things, it could help inspire, motivate somebody to go into STEM. We want to be ambassadors for STEM education. With regards to SS3 students, right, they're already science students. They're just about to get into their college, university, but we don't want them to lose interest. Some of them, we want them to, again, see the opportunities at their fingertips. As they went through their education, there have been a lot of changes in terms of the way things work in the world. There's a lot of competition, things change, so we want them to see the new opportunities that lie ahead of them, so that they don't lose interest and we don't lose them to other, professions or whatever. And not to try to seclude sciences and technology alone. I think the way this world is moving now, we have to we have to collaboratively work with other professions. Now you can see a civil engineer working with a medical doctor. Now you can see a medical doctor working with a pharmacist. Now you can see, us working with academia, researchers, economics, right? We all have to come together to solve problems, rather than saying this is just an engineering problem, or this is just an economics problem, this is just a pharmaceutical problem. You can see more doctors and engineers and arts people, because now graphic designers work with engineers, right? So what are we talking about? Because we all have to come together, right? So that is why we're pushing for this thing.
Great. So what practical steps would you advise or say the teachers of these kids, and because you are encouraging them to resort to science courses, technological courses, ICT, what practical steps can the teachers take? Because we discovered that some of the students were actually poor in some of the subjects they take. What practical steps can the teachers take to encourage the students to embrace these courses and like them more? Because I remember I had a biology teacher in my SS1 who was very poor in teaching, and that took away my interest in all sciences, in fact. So the teachers play a very vital role, just like I said earlier. So what practical steps do you think teachers in the North can take to help these kids develop good attitude towards science courses, technological courses, and the rest?
I see. Well, thank God you joined the media, because now you're interviewing me. But going back to that question, with regards to that, I think again, it's not just going to be a teacher responsibility. I think the professional team has to play a huge role about that. One of the reasons is because we need to bring, there's something we call shadowing, right? We can have, if I'm in my office, an engineer, doing my day-to-day activity, and you bring a bunch of secondary school kids or a bunch of primary school kids to come and see, just pass through my office, see what we're doing, talk to some of my engineers, see what they're doing. I think that is a role that they can play. Let them come and visit us at work and see the kind of projects we're talking about. Let's talk to them, think that's one way we can inspire them.
Good.
The teachers have to also be able to link academia and practical life. Some of our teachers are simply focused on just the book. This is theories. It's actually boring because kids cannot see what they're, what are they working towards. All they see is formulas and numbers, and that's all they remember and memorize. So they don't see what's going on in the board. Now, when you bring teachers and academia together, let them talk about how things are working, how to take things from the academia to the practical life. And so it helps them translate that to the students. Let the professional team and other professional organizations like CORAN or Nigerian Society of Engineers, let them go to schools and talk. These kids want to have mentors, right? They want to see people that are actually doing the job, not always every day seeing a teacher, right? They want to actually see people that are doing the profession. If somebody built a house, bring the house. So look, here's where we designed it. Here, show them the computer stuff. This is what we did. This is what we did. And now we have this. If they can see those things, or this is how we design a car, this is how we built it. If they can, let them visit the factories. Let them go and see for themselves. I think that will inspire them. And the teachers as well, I think that would make them to become a little bit more knowledgeable.
Good. Thank you very much. Just because we are getting close to the end of the interview, I'll probably ask you a very funny question. Would you allow your daughter go through school, like after secondary school, would she continue and all that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Why not?
Absolutely. So, there's a lot of issues surrounding female child education in the North, and a lot of girls end up not, going to school because some people say religious reasons, cultural reasons, and some other reasons only God knows. And there are a lot of female children not going to school in the North. What do you think can be done by the government, by the people, including the media, and then people like you who, try to create ideas to move the North forward? What can be done to improve the state of female child education in the North?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. I actually think this is a very important question, and I'm glad you asked it. There are a lot of different things I can say about this. The first thing I want to say is that, the North, especially Sokoto, being a, religious or Islamic religious kind of state, right? I can say that, for example, the Quran, one of the things that the first verse revealed in the Quran is read, right? It says read 3 times. And so that sort of signifies education. It didn't say men should read or females should not read, right? It says read. So education is universal, both for the men and for the women. So because that's part of the cultural and religious clash that we have. The second thing is the fact that we need more female ambassadors talking to these ladies, young ladies, and talking to them and making sure that, look, they can also do what they are doing, right? Not because sometimes there's that whole thing, it's a man's job, or it's a man's job to provide, or I cannot be empowered to go to school, or if I get married off, it's my husband's total responsibility to take care of me, or I don't have to. I always give an example of Khadija, wife of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She was richer than him. She was a businesswoman. She supported him in so many different ways because she was more as a provider and she had the funds. So let our women be able to support us as well, right? They can do that through education and things of that nature. The government in Sokoto, for example, they give incentive to the local women, right? They pay them a certain token so that the girls don't have to go out street hawking. So they are going to they get those incentives and they get to go to school. So
Great. Engineer Jibril Shehu, thanks for talking to me on Youth Without Borders. Viewers, you've been watching Youth Without Borders. Thank you for joining me this week. I am Ahmed Rufai Isah. Thank you.